I know where there's some, right here in the hall, clerk.
No, Molly, not in there. I have
All right, welcome back to the Zenith restoration. I've got the speaker out and protected. The chassis is here, and I've taken the front panel out with the tone controls. So it's time to do a little survey here and see what we discover. I've taken a couple dozen reference photos, maybe more. Because my experience is just when I need a reference photo, I don't have it. So I've learned to finally take a camera's worth. It won't hurt anything. You can throw them away later if you want. But let's start with the speaker. Let's see what we're going to do with that. And at this point, all I want to do is prove to myself that the speaker works. So we've already looked at the cone, and it looks fine. So all I'm going to do is hook a couple of probes, alligator clips to the two terminals of the speaker, standard 1.5 volt battery, and just see if I get a click, which is all I need really. And I do. So sounds fine. So I'll set this aside. I know it works. It has a resident couple of daddy long legs here, carcasses. So that means it's authentic, I guess. So let's move on. I'll set this aside and we'll move on to the chassis. So what I mean when I say survey is we glanced at this when I first got it out, but now I'll look more closely and see if I can see anything that's worrisome or interesting, to take note of things like the antenna connectors. So we'll do that. We'll start up here and then look on the underside and see what we can notice there. So for starters, we'll look at the connectors right here for the antenna. And they're marked, as you might imagine, AM, FM, and G for ground. These are where the FM antenna, the internal loop antenna goes, plugs in right here. And remember that RCA looking kind of connector that was coming out of the speaker or the turntable? That goes right there. I hadn't seen that before. So that's where that goes. What else is to see up here? Not much. It has two filter caps. This one is a 40 at 450 and a, well, I can't read that other, oh, it's 20 at 350 volts. So this has got two, and then this big guy over here has 3, which I can't read right now, but we do know from the glance we took the other day that those caps are still in place, in service, which means they probably don't work anymore. It might be possible to reform them. I don't know, I've not had much luck reforming. Other people swear by it. As I said, I took my reference photos and there's little details like what's happening right here under that grime. The coupling cap there and some dog bone resistors, a coil, stuff like that. But nothing out of the ordinary. Well, except for that thing, maybe. A spider has shed its carcass. It was growing to bigger and better things, I guess. So anyway, lots of insect body parts, as usual. That's okay. So I'll turn this over and we'll take a closer look at the underside. This is pretty busy chassis. As I pointed out, it has one replacement orange drop. That's coming from the phono input, so they've had to replace the coupling cap from the phono input for some reason. I noticed the last time I looked that this was probably new, and then I finally realized that there's a can dome resistor back here that's been taken out of service. So it looks like, I can't tell how many lugs it had originally. It looks like 2 were cut off, so 3 lugs and ground. That's why this is in there, I presume. That's probably why this one is in there, and maybe this one as well. Just kind of a hodgepodge of whatever somebody had in their bench, which works. Got no complaint with that. I would also guess that this didn't come out of the factory with this resistor doubled up like that. Let me see if I can get any closer to this. Yeah, this is a pair of resistors. What are they? Brown, black, yellow. Pair of brown, black, yellows in parallel, twisted, with the leads twisted and soldered in place, and right over the top of this cap. So I don't imagine that's original either. Could be, but I doubt it. Could be, but I doubt it. The rest of it looks pretty original, except for these wires for the transplanted audio transformer. And I haven't confirmed yet where that would have mounted. There's no place on top. Depending on its size, it might have fit in this space, but seems unlikely. There are wire through holes and potentially mounting holes here. So it might have been, yeah. It looks to me like it could have gone right here. There are mounting holes there and there that would work for it. So it might have taken up that space right there. In any case, it's gone. I'll see if I can find an original, because I don't much like this. That just offends my delicate sensibilities. I'm sure it works fine. Probably works fine. So the can dome's been replaced. The filter caps have not been replaced. This coupling cap for the phonograph output has been replaced. Probably this twisted pair of resistors right here is a change. Power cord, I suspect, is not original. Well, it could be, but I suspect it's not. But everything else in there looks pretty fundamentally the way it always has been, which is good. Which is good. Probably means nothing really horrible has been done to it. That might be a fake mica mold. That might be a mica mold. Fake mica caps. Oh. And here's another hitchhiker. All right, let's take a look at the front panel. Here's the front panel. When this was in the radio, this looked yellowed to me, but out of the radio it looks fine, just a little dirty. And I realized the yellowing is actually the dial plate itself, the 10 dial plate. So we'll take a look at this. Right here, there's a phono AM FM switch built in that doesn't appear to turn very easily, as well as the dial. So this is a 2-part shaft. and this is volume here. These are the tone controls I've been talking about. This one says low bass, bass, and voice. And they're grubby, really grubby. So we'll have to be cleaned out, and we'll look at the back of it again in a second. And on this side over here are treble, alto, or alto, depending on how you say it, and normal. It looks like you can push them in any combination. This is I believe this is brass, so that'll polish up nicely if it comes off. It doesn't. And I'll have to try to polish that and the surround here without doing any damage. They always look good when the badge is clean. So here are those switches, and they're actually little phenolic cards. And as the switch is pushed, okay, and this is get a pointer here. All it does is rock back and forth like that. Get a little more light over here. So the switch just rocks back and forth. This is a piece of phenolic as well, and it has a brass rivet right there. So when the button is pushed in, the brass rivet shorts this contact and this contact. And that's all there is to it for. This one shorts when it's out, and this one shorts when it's in. Same thing on this side. These are really corroded. That one's shorted out, open in, open out, shorted in, open out, shorted in. Looks like they've had a Coke or two poured into them. Anyway, they'll just need cleaning up. There are a few components. I can see a carbon comp resistor down in there. And on this side, there's a really old-fashioned resistor. Yeah, but I can't see anything else inside the switch. Oh yeah, another carbon comp down in there. And they all go to this cable bundle, which gets plugged into the chassis. And that's kind of it. Now Larry, in the hills of Tennessee, said one of the reasons he doesn't like working on consoles is because you've got a lot of parts to keep track of. And that's certainly true. I suspect that this should be plugged in for the chassis to work correctly. But I'm not sure. In any case, I'm going to have to build a little frame to hold this up so I can have it in proximity of this. I guess it wouldn't hurt for it to lie around, but it's just in the way. So I don't know yet how I'll solve that problem, Larry, but I'll solve it when I get to it, I guess. Or not. Or not. What else? I have to build I'm going to be spending so much time on the underside of this. I'm going to need to build a rotating frame for it. And I don't have enough bench space to warrant a giant wooden all-purpose frame, so I'll just knock together a specifically built one for this chassis, and we'll get started. But first, there's a question. And the question is, I know a lot of people that start a restoration by plugging it in and seeing if it works. And I think about that, and my inclination is to almost never do that. Particularly, well, for me it depends a lot on how much it's been tampered with, how much it's been serviced in the past. This one has had some stuff done to it. So the process for me going forward is going to be, we'll look at the schematics next and see if there are some resistances. There might be a resistance table which comes in handy, and some certainly look for some voltage indicators too for all the parts. So I think I'll do that. I don't think I'll just plug it in. Although I do have to show off my new I'm thinking about calling this the Tipton. Dave Tipton in Australia has a really nice dim bulb tester box that he built and provides the schematics for on his channel, documentation for. And I was enamored of it. It looked like it worked really well. So I got his documentation and built one for myself, and thus far it's working quite well. I have no problem with it at all. So, like all of us who have a little bit of safety in mind, what I have here is a nice hefty isolation transformer, a standard $100 Variac. I thought Variac was a trade name, but maybe it isn't anymore. Anyway, variable transformer. Because these, if you buy one of these and think they're isolating you from mains power, they're not. These are not isolation transformers. These are just variable transformers. The ground on the plug of this is the same as the ground there, and you can have the same polarity problems that people have had for eons. So anyway, I'm going to stop right here. Let's spend a little time looking at the schematic and seeing if we can break this up into manageable chunks and go from there. So that'll be it for this short video. The next one will be mostly staring at schematics and trying to understand the circuitry. It is an AM radio and an FM radio, and it turns out there are two of these H1080 chassis. One has a Z as the last designator, and from what I can tell so far, that means parts of it are shielded. Otherwise, electrically, it seems it probably is the same thing, but so I have to determine whether this is a standard chassis or a Z chassis. I suspect it's standard. And I don't quite trust the pencil marks on the back. I think that's certainly the main series, but doesn't address the question of whether it's a Z or not. On the other hand, that may not matter. We'll find out. Anyway, that's it for this quick one. Ready to go. So clean up. I'll pull the tubes and test them. I'll clean the chassis up as best I can. Build a frame to hold it so we can rotate it easily. Start the search for an original audio transformer. And Larry gave me a good pointer to the rubber gaskets that go on the speaker, so I'll do some research in that area too. So that's it for this time. See you next time. Be safe. Take care. Bye.